This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Coming out shining, shining. I can see the stars aligning. Me and you is perfect timing. We just gotta keep on vibing. Yeah, elevate the crowd. Feet lifting off the ground. Shock the world like wow. Feel it getting stronger now. Trailblazer, rule breaker, new flavor, straight laser, go maker, room shaker, lost in the beat. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Energy electric, taking us higher. We're in the zone, blazing on fire.
Rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, you so know it, even on a lovely, lovely Monday. It doesn't matter who the host is, that is for sure. Anyways, how are you? Coming out of the weekend. I hope it was an exciting time for you. Anyways, today is Monday, October the 2nd of 2023, day 275th of the year. Yes, and only 90 days left to go. Yes, I'm telling you, you're going to blink and it'll be single digits. Okay, really, just don't blink right now. Because if you do, it's not going to be single digits yet, but it's going to sound like it was. So anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, like we did the majority of last week. Well, with the exception of the day that we were at Safety Day. Well, I think we broadcasted before we got to Safety Day as well. I don't know. My brain's fried. Long week last week in regards of doing all the eventy stuff. Anyway, so with that being said, as we are broadcasting across the multiverse known as Safety FM, we are also hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Yes, infiltration in Radio Big is kind of what it's always been about as we are hanging out and doing our stuff. Anyways, with that being said, if you're not familiar with our little showy-oey, let's talk about it because I would like to give you some examples of what we do. We talk about safety. We talk about the news. We talk about news and safety. We give you topical stories of what is going on in real time inside of the world of the news. That way you can tie it into some of the safety nuances that are out there. That way you have something topical to talk about with your co-workers. I was going to say colleagues, and then it sounded like co-workers and colleagues mixed together. Colleagues, team members, all that fun stuff. So with that being said, that's why we do it in the format that we do it in. And then, yes, it's the and then, we have opportunities for you to interact with the show. And what do you do to get there? Well, you go to callinradio.com. Callinradio.com, what it does is pretty interesting on how it works. Once you get there, you have a video option, you have an audio option, and you have a text option. So you have some options on how to get to the show itself and do some interaction. I appreciate the people that are constantly doing the texting because that makes life a little bit easier in regards of looking. Hey, listen, if you put the stuff on social media, it's cool. But unfortunately, we normally don't look at it until almost to the end of the show. So I always like to tell people about that because I don't want them to feel like they're being ignored. So anyways, that's what it sums up to. We have some professional broadcasters that come in and talk a little bit about what the hell's going on because I think it's important. And then I come back and give you some versionality of a main story if we're not talking about politics the last 20 minutes long. And yeah, we got a little political on Thursday. I would love to tell you what we did on Friday, but as you know and I know, there was a no-show. Yeah, that would be this guy right here. Listen, I'll tell you. Remember how I kept on telling you that if you were in Orlando, you should come hang out. That we would be doing the karaoke stuff. By the time that it was all said and done, I got back to my house close to the time that I should be getting my butt to the studio. So it was a small cluster. You know, the whole thing was a small cluster. So there you go. But it was some fun times for sure. Really hope that if you did hang out with us last week in Orlando, you had some fun at the Conklin Conference. That's for sure. We'll talk about some future stuff that we're doing with the Conklin Conference. But we'll get to that in a bit. The next one and how to get to it and all that fun stuff, because that might be a little bit intriguing for you. Anyways, with that being said, why don't we talk real quick about what the hell's trending in the news, because I'm over here abbering. I'm talking about everything else.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so here's the trends of the ends of the ends. Let's talk about it. Apple plans to roll out a fix to the unexpected problem with its brand new iPhone model, and the iconic tuft of the hair hits the auction block. We'll talk about that. Britney Spears is trying to ease fans' concerns, and Kevin Spacey faces sexual assault allegations. We'll talk about that as we get into hour 2 and 3. And a horror flick caused concerns in the neighborhood to call the police, and Beyonce's Renaissance tour is heading to the big screen, because I guess that's... Would you want to see a concert at the movie theater? I mean, that just seems weird to me. But I mean, I guess if you can't make it to where it's at... Like, listen, there's a band that I really like. And I just don't think that if the option was to watch it on a television, that would be what I would go with. But hey, that's my gig. So with that being said, let's do this. Let's get you into the news right now.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Former President Donald Trump is expected to be in New York City today for his civil fraud trial. Opening statements are set for 10 a.m. in the case brought on by New York Attorney General Letitia James. James accuses Trump and his family of inflating his net worth by saying his real estate portfolio was worth more than it was, which James said gave Trump better terms than he deserved from lenders and insurers. Last week, the judge overseeing the case ruled that Trump had been overvaluing his properties and is liable for fraud. President Biden says he's glad a government shutdown was averted.
It's time to end governing by crisis and keep your word when you give it in the Congress.
Speaking from the White House Sunday, Biden noted that he and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had come to a budget agreement a few months ago. The president accused what he referred to as extreme MAGA Republicans of trying to walk away from the deal. Biden said the deep spending cuts they were calling for would be devastating to millions of Americans. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he's not concerned about Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz' efforts to oust him as Speaker. McCarthy said on CBS Face the Nation it's a personal issue with Gaetz. McCarthy noted that Gaetz was one of the last holdouts during the House vote for Speaker in January. Gaetz announced on Sunday he plans to file a motion to have McCarthy removed as Speaker, making good on threats if a spending bill was passed with Democratic support. Temperature records that have stood for more than a century in the middle part of the country could fall this week. Scott Carr reports.
Weather forecasters say a large area of the Midwest U.S. could see afternoon highs over several days this week, 10 to 20 degrees warmer than average. That'll mean highs well into the 80s, even near 90, threatening daily records set back in the 1800s. I'm Scott Carr.
And jury selection in the fraud trial of FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried is set to begin Tuesday in Manhattan Federal Court. He faces charges of wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. At least 10 people have died after a church roof collapse in northern Mexico. 4 people have been arrested in the Indian state of Manipur, where ethnic clashes have been going on since May. India's monsoon rainfall has hit its lowest level in 5 years because of the El Niño weather pattern. And Japan's embattled J-pop factory Johnny's and Associates is looking to relaunch to distance the company from acts of sexual assault by its founder.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Senator Lindsey Graham says he believes funding for U.S. border security and funding for Ukraine will be combined.
I believe there's bipartisan support in the Senate to do both, and it will go to the House hopefully in the next 30 days.
Speaking on CBS Face the Nation, the South Carolina Republican said funding for Ukraine and the border is not an either-or situation. Graham does not believe there will be a standalone bill for Ukraine funding. He did say he believes the vast majority of Republicans would support a bill that combines border security and Ukraine funding along with disaster aid. A former National Defense Secretary in the Trump administration says a second Trump presidency would be disastrous to national security.
So I suspect Trump will quickly move to end funding for Ukraine. And then at some point, he's also going to move to withdraw funding for NATO and maybe even pull out of NATO.
Speaking on CBS Face the Nation, Mark Esper says he expects Trump would be unsuccessful in negotiating a deal between Russia and Ukraine. The former president had said in July he would end the war in Ukraine in one day if he's elected. Esper added that Russian President Vladimir Putin is probably hoping for another Trump presidency. More than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente workers are getting ready to go on what would be the biggest healthcare strike in U.S. history. Unions representing the workers notified the company more than a week ago that they could launch a 3-day strike this coming Wednesday, October the 4th. The strike would affect Kaiser hospitals and clinics in California, Oregon, Washington State, Colorado, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. New York Governor Kathy Hochul vowing to find a 9-year-old girl who disappeared Saturday evening at Moreau Lake State Park. Charlotte Sena went missing during a bike ride while camping with her family at the park about 40 miles north of Albany. At a press conference Sunday, Governor Hochul promised that no stone would be left unturned, and police are urging anyone who might know anything to call 911. And Harvard University's new president is a history maker. Claudine Gay is the first person of color and the second woman to lead America's oldest institution of higher learning. She was inaugurated on Friday. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Well, you know that here at Safety FM and Radio Big, we're always trying to look for life hacks. So with the busy season just around the corner, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for your jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kits, can help you fuel up with fast chef prepared, dietitian approved, and ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Refresh your healthy habits without missing a beat. Choose from 34 weekly flavored packs. Dietitian-approved meals ready to eat in 2 minutes. All you need to do is head over to factorsmeals.com/safetyfm50 and use code safetyfm50 to get 50% off. That's code safetyfm50 at factormeals.com/safetyfm50 to get 50% off. Go there. Do it now.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. BIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. BIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with BIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take BIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, yes. Listening at your own risk is kind of an important aspect of what we do. I don't know if I should talk about this. I think I will. So, you hear that we run all kinds of interesting stuff ad-wise, but mobile.io has been here for some time. And I will tell you, that phone service is probably one of the best phone services that I've ever used. And it's interesting on how they actually tie that whole thing together. And the reason that I say that is because they're on two separate networks, one that starts with the letter V and one that starts with the letter T. And you can choose which one you want to go to inside of there. And it's probably about half the price of what you would normally pay on if you went to the major provider into their store themselves. Only thing that's different is that it's a prepay. So you pay for it ahead of time opposed to post-pay on how most of them are set up. But mobile.io has that set up for you. And if you go with the one that starts with the letter T inside of their network, right now you can actually just take it and it's a native service. So what do I mean when I say that? If you go to one of the 80 countries that's listed by the organization, once you actually get there, voila, you don't have to do anything to the phone. The phone automatically works once you get there. I think it's a win-win, 50% off or almost 50% off if you went to with the majors, getting the same service. Oh, yeah, and they don't deprioritize you. I don't know why I felt like saying that, but I am talking about it, so we're there. We already talked about it. I don't know. I like to be frugal with money. Anyways, with that being said, well, I guess I like to be frugal with most things when it comes to money. But with that being said, let's get into the shit list because I think that's going to be a little bit more important. So take a listen to this. Following the rollout of the Apple iPhone 15, users' device quickly noticed that the smartphone overheats in a hurry. And Apple doesn't blame its hardware or operating system. Instead, the Instagram app as the primary culprit of the issue, as well as the Uber app as part of what's going on. Instagram rolled out an update last week trying to fix it. Apple's next major software update should fix the problem across the board. This is according to The Verge. Now, I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of somebody saying, oh, yes, the issue is related to what is going on with apps, not the software, not the hardware. But hey, I guess everybody has to say their own thing.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying.
He is trying to be entertaining.
Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, a look at George Washington's hair is... hold on. A lock, not a look. A lock of George Washington's hair is up for sale from the monuments in time. Tired of the oval shape and bound tied into the oval shape and bound in glass, case wrapped in pearls, the hair was given to Derby family, who were reportedly very close with the president and his wife, Martha. Oh, hold on. It has Batman and Superman's mother's name. The sale includes the letter between the Derbys and the collector, dated back on August 15th of 1873. The listed price, $45,000. Damn it! If I wish I knew hair was going for so much, I would have saved all mine. As we were going through it. Anyways, take a listen to this. The new study of Tulane University, published in the Journal of in their journal, suggested that given the options, always take the stairs. Researchers surveyed that over 458,000 participants about their family history of cardiovascular disease and the risk factors of heart disease, lifestyles, habit, and frequency in using the stairs. What would they have found that was able for those to regularly climb 50 steps a day had an almost 20% lower risk of heart disease. Taking it one step further, researchers suggested that stair climbing has certain advantages over simply taking daily steps, and that it requires the use of muscles and a lot of activity of the cardiovascular system. This is according to The Independent. So now you know. If you want to have better cardiovascular system, take the steps. What if I just use the stair stepper? Does that do the same thing?
Duh.
Okay, just asking. Okay, so let's continue. A sea lion at the Central Park Zoo in New York City took advantage of the rising floodwaters and escaped the enclosure last week after swimming over the fence, and the animal was spotted hanging out in a part of the zoo that is usually accessible only by humans. Her adventure was monitored by zoo employees who made sure that she made her way back to her home. As of Saturday morning, the water had receded and all animals were back in their designated habitats. This is according to the New York Times. That had to be fun last week. I don't know if you've looked at some of the pictures from last week, but people kept on referring to it as the apocalypse. Like the apocalypse was going down. I mean, I knew it was serious, but I was like, whoa, hold on. Now we've gotten into a different world here in regards to what we're talking about. So I don't know. Thoughts? Yeah. That's what I thought too. Anyways, when Stephanie Boyd wanted to end an argument with her husband, she got into her car to leave. He jumped on the hood of her car to try to get her to stop. She drove off anyways while he hung for dear life. The unnamed husband managed to stay on the vehicle as Boyd drove over 4 miles on the interstate until a patrol cop saw what was happening and tried to pull her over. Boyd continued another half a mile before stopping for the officer. She now faces domestic assault and resisting arrest by fleeing charges. She also is banned from having contact with her now husband via KMOV. Well, so K-Move was actually is reporting. Think about that real quick. What kind of argument are you having that number one person decides to leave, the other person says, nah, I think it's a good idea for me to jump on top of the car, which is kind of crazy. And then, hey, when it's all said and done, you want to jump on the car? I'm not stopping the car. I'm just going to roll with it.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Hey, I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just sharing information with you. Anyway, so did you go to the movie theater over the weekend? You know, that's what people do. People like going into the movies. You know, they do the movie stuff. So let's talk about what was in the movie theater. Let's give you the top 10 from the box office. At number 10 was Barbie with $1.4 million. At number 9 was Expendables 4 with $2.5 million. Well, holy shit, that dropped from number 2 to number 9. The Equalizer Part 3 was at $2.7 million. Dumb Money with $3.5 million. A Haunting in Venice was at $3.8 million at number 6. At number 5, The Blind with $4.1 million. At number 4, The Nun with $4.7 million. At number 3, The Creator with $14 million. I didn't even know that there was a new Saw movie. So Saw 10 came out, $18 million at number 2. And at the number 1 spot, Paw Patrol, the mighty movie, with $23 million. Number 1, I didn't know there was a new Paw Patrol movie, and I'm glad I didn't know that, because if I knew that, that means that my kid would have known that, and guess where I would have been. Anyway, so there you go. That's that. So let's talk about some money matters, because I think that that's going to matter to you when we start talking about money. So let's do that right now. I have some Aaron Royale waiting for you.
The United Auto Workers once again expanding their strike this past Friday. UAW President Shawn Fain said only Stellantis made big progress in negotiations.
Ford and GM have refused to make meaningful progress at the table. That's why we will expand our strike to these two companies.
Union workers want a 40% pay increase, cost of living adjustment, and pensions for all workers. Fain said his union will get what it wants.
Our solidarity is the most powerful force in the world. When we stand together, united in the cause of economic and social justice, there's nothing we can't do.
Student loan payments are starting up again after a 3-year pause. NBC's Brian Chung says there's still going to be some leniency from the Department of Education.
The payments are due. The interest started collecting last month. The first payments are due October 1st, but the Department of Education is saying if you don't make a payment, it's going to be okay. We won't report you immediately to the credit reporting agencies like they usually do.
As of Sunday, the payments that were paused for over 45 million borrowers during the pandemic resumed. The average borrower owes around $29,000, and most of that debt is held by the federal government. Consumer sentiment was down slightly in September. The University of Michigan's final reading for the month slipped less than 2 points from August. The survey noted that some uncertainty about the economy given the possible government shutdown and the UAW strike against the auto workers. Year-ahead inflation expectations fell slightly to their lowest level since March 2021. Half of shoppers plan to begin their holiday shopping by Halloween this year. That's according to a recent Bankrate report. With more shoppers getting an early start on the season, holiday retail sales are likely to increase between 3.5 and 4.6%. according to the Deloitte annual forecast. Despite student loan repayments restarting, healthy employment and income growth are keeping sales volume up. When it comes to consumer spending, the biggest factor is usually whether people have a job, and we are near full employment. With consumer and business news, Aaron Royale, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Aaron, for the información right there. Take a listen to this. The Dow lost about 158 points to close at 33,507, and the S&P lost about 11 points to close at 4,288, and the NASDAQ added about 18 points to close at 13,219. West Texas Intermediate closed at $90 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $92 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.81 on Sunday. Bitcoin was mostly flat over the weekend and trading around 27,100. There was more than 3,200 flights, 3,230 flights that were delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Sunday, with about 60 cancellations, which, I mean, when you start taking a look at the 60 cancellations, that's not a bad thing when it's all said and done. Take a listen to this. Tuesday night's Mega Million drawing will be for a $300 million jackpot or $137 million cash payout. Tonight's Powerball drawing will be for a $1.04 billion cash payout or a $478.2 million cash payout. I mean, what a differential there, right? Like, hey, I'm giving up half before we even get to taxes, which is going to make me down all the way to a quarter. So some things to consider and to think about for sure as we are talking. Let's talk about some other news stories, because why would we not talk about the stories of the Ories of the Gories? Let's talk about this one. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is kicking off a 2-day summit on fentanyl crisis. Jennifer Bolsoni has more.
Mayor Adams says the 2-day meeting will include strategy sessions with elected leaders, public health officials, law enforcement, the focus on education, enforcement, awareness, and prevention, and to develop a national strategy to combat the rise of fentanyl. It's now the most common drug involved in overdose deaths in the city, including the exposure death of a 1-year-old at a Bronx daycare. Stats show drug overdoses killed more than 2,600 individuals in the city in 2021, a 78% jump since 2019. Fentanyl detected in 80% of those deaths. Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer, for the información on what's going on. Take a listen to this. In Los Angeles, California, zero bail policy is now in effect in Los Angeles County. Downey Mayor Claudia Frometa explains why she's not a fan of it.
Because individuals are no longer afraid that there's going to be stiff penalties and consequences.
As of Sunday, people arrested for nonviolent, non-serious crimes will be cited and released in situations where they would would have been kept in the jail for a bond. L.A. County Superior Court voted to do away with cash bail in July, saying that discrimination against minorities and poor people. A dozen cities in L.A. have already filed lawsuits in hopes of having the policy overturned. The mayor says that the zero bail will make it tough for the city to crack down on crimes like retail theft.
So this is sending a message that as long as you're not considered armed or dangerous, these retail thefts or these thefts, okay, they're pretty much catch and release.
So it's going to make it pretty interesting as we do go forward. Take a listen to this one coming out of Michigan. A Pontiac man has been shot and killed at a Coney Island restaurant when he was accused the man of being a pedophile and punching him. 40-year-old Robert Lee would pose online as an underage girl to catch sexual predators and confronted a man at the restaurant Friday night at 10:30 near the corner of North Perry Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
We're going to honor his memory. We're here to show support and show that, everything he did was not for nothing. We're here to show that he really made an impact on the community.
That was friend Cody Fendant speaking at the vigil of Lee's outside of the restaurant where he was killed. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard says that he warned him several times of the danger that he faced, even though his campaign led criminal charges against several men. 2 people are already in custody. Oakland County Sheriff also says that he warned Robert and that what would happen if he cracked down on the vigilante pedophiles.
We know he has good intentions from this, and we've actually suggested to this individual multiple times, this is really dangerous. And here's some of the problems and pitfalls with doing this.
I mean, it's a great thing what he was doing and a bad thing what he was doing at the same time, too, because you start taking a look at it and go, what can you do right there? Take a listen to this one coming out of Grand Rapids. A candlelight vigil in honor of a 27-year-old Lavadis Crawford Blackman was held yesterday evening. Was held last evening as he was shot and killed early Friday morning. His mother says that he will be missed every day, and she has been broken up by his death.
I love my son, and I was proud of my son. My son was something to me. And he was something into my family. So what you did, you stripped that from me.
Crawford Blackman was killed in a gunfight that broke out around 2 a.m. across My Place Bar and Restaurant. And Grand Rapids police say that the officer fired a weapon, but they have no evidence of if they even shot anyone. One person was shot in the stomach, and it is in critical condition. Monica says that her son was a loving father of 3 kids.
I just want my son to know that I love him deeply, and he's going to be truly missed every single day of my life. This has broken me.
So I don't know what to say when you start getting into those. Take a listen to this. The Colorado Department of Correction has identified Christine Grien Sandoval as a parole officer who was struck and killed by a suspect fleeing an arrest warrant last Thursday. Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez says that her death is hitting local law enforcement members deeply.
Although parole officers have a different role in our community, they are keeping our community safe. And they're the same officers as those you see wearing the Colorado Springs Police Department uniform.
Officer Gurian Sandoval worked in Pueblo County Sheriff's Office for a dozen of years. She also was awarded the 2018 Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. 2 officers were hit in the crash that happened in the intersection there on Thursday afternoon. The suspect, 41-year-old Justin Kula, is in custody and has an extensive criminal history in both Colorado and Texas. Governor Jared Polis and Springs Mayor Jimmy Morale shared their condolences for Christine and her family over the weekend. So there you go. It is currently 33 minutes past, so I think we need to do that thing that we do that we call the main story. So let's talk about that right now.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, main story time. I love the main story. I love talking. I love moving. I love grooving. I love doing the things that you and I get to do. And listen, I have to tell you, hanging out with a bunch of people and doing the things that we get to talk about, it's always fun. It's always interesting. And it can get very informative. It can become very enlightening, but it could also kind of get dark and disturbing. And, you're here on the Rated R Safety Show, so Which one do you think we're going to talk about? Of course, dark and disturbing, because why wouldn't we do that? I always have a very hard time with some stuff. And I don't know why this happens. And I don't understand why when you go to a workshop, because I shouldn't call it a conference. I probably should call it a workshop because it makes more sense, the description of the workshop. Because when you go to a conference, you just expect some person's going to be standing in the front and they're going to just be blabbing away and they're not going to let you say anything. Where in a workshop, it's a little bit more interactive and you get to do the thing that's going on. So let's talk about this real quick. Have you been to a workshop where you have the person that has to answer every single question that comes up? Where they have to be, they have to establish themselves of, hey, listen, I'm the smartest person in the room. And listen, it happens at workshops. It happens at meetings at work. It happens all around the place. But I never understand on why sometimes you have the peeps, and I'm sure I've played this character at one point or another, that have to let everybody know, hey, that I am the smartest person in the room. And they will come up with factoids. Yes, I do like to call them factoids, even though you should just call them facts. But they love to come up with factoids to try to let people know that they know everything about everything. That weird moment in time that occurs with that. And here's where I struggle. I struggle with this because of the following issue. Number one, nobody's a fact checker that's normally sitting inside of that room going, oh, listen, what that person said is not correct. Let's fact check that. Just not what occurs. And I don't understand if people do that out of being nervous, trying to make sure that people know that they know what they're talking about, or if it's just one of those oddities of things that occur. Because here's the thing, and here's where it gets kind of interesting. Unless you're doing an incident, accident, or fatality investigation that information is needed immediately, you're kind of wasting some time within regards of, hey, I know regulation 2567.7234, and it says the following. And it only applies to state 1, 2, and 5 that are in alphabetical order that have the letter behind the first letter that's a consonant that is not also known as an actual, the AEIOUs of the world. You see how I just didn't tell you anything that made any sense or is going to advance our conversation? All I've done right now is in our conversation expand stuff, make you kind of waste your time, and prove to you that I have some knowledge base that you're not going to be able to check by the time that you remember it. So what's the point and what's the value? Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you this. Most of the times I have regulatory information that I have databases that I have access to, not only via the internet that would be public, but also via paid subscriptions where I can go, okay, let me find this out. And I'm going to have to actually quote the regulation anyways. So what's the point of you telling it to me by the top of your head? Because I am going to have some kind of proof that it's actually there with the number, segment, and reference number that I'm going to have to put into my document in my report. See the point? So I don't know. Why do you think these things happen? And it's like I said, they happen in workplaces. They happen at conferences. They happen at workshops. Shit, they even happen in personal lives. So if you know what I'm talking about, you don't have to give me a hell yeah or anything, but you know what's going on. Why do you think these things take place? Is it a nerves thing? Is it let me show you what I know? Or is it just that feeling that I have to be the smartest person in the room? I don't know. I just ask these questions because I want to have a better understanding. Because sometimes I get very confused by why these things go on. Now, think about that.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You're listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Well, you might be like me and heard all these terms and we're not 100% sure on what they meant. Things as mining, blockchain, the Internet of Things. Well, I will tell you, we here at Safety FM have partnered up with a company that will explain this to you and will also have conversations to inform you on how you might have the potential of making passive income by being involved with this. All you need to do is go to safetyfm.com/iHub. They'll discuss blockchain. What exactly is mining? What is cryptocurrency? And what is the Internet of Things? To find out more information, go to safetyfm.com/iHub. That's safetyfm.com/iHub. And don't forget to mention that Jay Allen sent you.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
So, do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now? That live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/1. That's safetyfm.com/1. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Coming out shining. I can see the stars aligning. Me and you is perfect timing. We just gotta keep on vibing. Yeah, elevate the crowd. Feet lifting off the ground. Shout the world like wow. Feel it getting stronger now. Trailblazer, rule breaker, new flavor, straight laser, go maker, room shaker, lost in the beat. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Make you wanna move. Energy electric, taking us higher. We're in the zone.
Okay, want to take us higher. Energy's electric there. Anyways, you are listening to the Rated R Safety Show, 44 minutes past the top of the hour on this lovely Monday. This right here, this is called Move. This is by Kent Parks. I'd like to give a little thank you action right there for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. You can give it a little streamer-eamer action if you want to on the other side. YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. Maybe it'll make you want to move. No, like seriously, like move. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So, there you go. Thank you. Really, there you go. Thank you to Kid Parks. That's for sure. Before I forget, just in case you did not know this, Monday's a holiday of next week, yeah? October the 9th, we'll be observing, well, some of the people here will be observing Canadian Thanksgiving. Also, so there you go. There you go. The 9th. The 9th, if you were not aware. Now you are aware. If you're not there. Anyways, let's talk about the most important thing that I'm going to tell you in my lifetime. And I'm not joking as I say that. Some people go, it sounds awfully serious when you say that. Because it is serious. It's serious biz. So let's talk about my friends at To Right Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. I'm not joking as I say these things. All you have to do to find out more information is to go to Right Love on Her Arms. That's To Right Love on Her Arms. TWLOHA.com. Because nobody wants to write out that whole thing. But To Right Love on Her Arms, go to the section that says Find Help. All kinds of information there. Anything from, listen, you can go to Find Help. You can even go to the self-care help or the self-care. It has more stuff there. If you just want to read around, see what else is going on, you can click on stories. You can hear about the events that they have coming up and how to even be involved. Listen, I think it's so important to talk about this. This is my opinion, of course. So that's why I say, hey, to me, it's so important to talk about it. So with that being said, TWLOHA.com. People have been where you are now, and things can be better. Healing is possible. Seriously. When you get there, there's all kinds of information, international resources, suggestive program, and even scholarships to apply for treatment and recovery if you're in an area that it's not free or easily accessible. So TWLOHA.com. TWLOHA.com. Keep that in mind as we are talking because it is important as we are moving and grooving. Let's continue talking real quick about some other things that are going on inside of the world because you might want to take a listen to this. But until this year, pink has never considered a Halloween color. Yeah, but according to the National Retail Federation in the U.S., Barbie will be the third most popular Halloween costume for adults this year, behind witches and vampires. And if it hasn't enough evidence, the Barbie core Halloween. It's also the seventh most popular costume among kids. Other revelations include NRF survey. Total Halloween spending in the U.S. will reach $12.2 billion, exceeding last year's record of $10.6 billion. That's the average of $108.24 per consumer, also a record. $4.1 billion will be spent on costumes, while $3.6 will go towards candy. $3.9 billion will be spent on decorations, and $10.5 billion will be spent on greeting cards. Yeah, I did say greeting cards. Don't faint on that one. A record of 73% of people will participate in Halloween related activities this year, up from 69% from 2022. Most popular costumes for adults in order will be like this: witch, vampire, Barbie, Batman, cat, zombie, pirate, princess, ghost, Spider-Man. For children, it'll be Spider-Man, Princess, Ghost, Superhero, Witch, Batman, Barbie, Zombie, Mario, Wednesday Addams. And for pets, pumpkins, hot dogs, Bumblebee, Spider. And no Barbie costume for pets, apparently, it sounds like. And rookies, my family has spent over $100 in candy already, and we haven't even bought trick-or-treaters yet. So there you go. So keep that in mind. I mean, candy expenditure. The neighborhood that I live in, holy monkeys, the amount of candy that is handed out during that stuff. Don't even know what's going on half the time when it comes to it. But hey, it happens. It happens. People are handing it out like it's going out of style. There is no doubt about that. So keep that in mind as we are talking. Let's see what other news stories are out there that we can share real quick. if you don't mind. Take a listen to this. California Governor Gavin Newsom is appointing Emily List President LaFonza Butler to fill the seat of the late senator. Take a listen to this.
According to Politico, the appointment will come Monday, and Newsom is making his appointment without putting limitations or preconditions on Butler running for the seat next year. The longest-serving female U.S. Senator, Feinstein, died Thursday at the age of 90. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you for sharing the information on what's going on. Take a listen to this one coming out of Aurora, Colorado. A 15-year-old boy is dead after a shooting outside of the Southlands Mall in Aurora on Saturday night, while police are still searching for the 4 or 5 suspects that who took off from the scene. Witness Jordan Dimitri says that her and her husband, Nathan, were having dinner at Mount Fuji Sushi in a hibachi restaurant when people ran inside for cover from the parking lot.
They were crying. I mean, there was one girl who was, like hugging her dad, like, I'm so scared, I just want to go home.
Many of those running inside were high school students from Smoky Hill and Grandview High School celebrating the homecoming at the mall. The shooting was reported around 8:30 p.m. The restaurant locked the doors in efforts to keep everyone safe. First responders tried to save the 15-year-old boy who was shot, but he passed away at the local hospital. Investigators are still searching for the suspects who fled the scene in a black sedan that was found Sunday and on an unidentified location. Police believe that the murder happened during a pre-planned meeting between the victim and the suspect. Nathan Dimitri says that as a Colorado native, what happened with the shooting Saturday night doesn't surprise him.
Between Columbine growing up, the Aurora Theater shooting, which we both live nearby, it's a recurring theme in society, unfortunately, and it's something we have to deal with.
So a lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking, no doubt about that. Take a listen to this. Senator Lindsey Graham says that he believes that funding the U.S. border security and funding the Ukraine will be combined. Take a listen to what Mark Mayfield tells us.
Speaking on CBS Face the Nation, the South Carolina Republican said funding for Ukraine and the border is not an either-or situation. Graham does not believe there will be a standalone bill for Ukraine funding. He did say he believes the vast majority of Republicans would support a bill that combines border security and Ukraine funding, along with disaster aid. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, take a listen to this. General Motors has laid off more than 160 union workers at 2 plants in Ohio as the United Auto Workers strike grows. Mark Mayfield has more.
GM laid off 130 workers at its Parma Metal Center just outside Cleveland and another 34 at its Marion Metal Center an hour north of Columbus. GM said in a statement that beginning today, a portion of the 2 plants won't have any work available and that the laid-off workers aren't expected to return until the strike is over. The layoffs come as the UAW expands its strike to more plants. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Take a listen to this one real quick. Residents have been displaced from 3 apartments in Everett, Washington, after their building was hit by a car on Friday night. Take a listen to this.
The car crashed into the corner of the Woodbrook apartments. None of the residents were injured. The driver, who was arrested for DUI, also wasn't hurt. They left the car in the building because of structural damage. An engineer will need to assess the damages before the car can be removed. Brad Ford, NBC News Radio.
Can you imagine being displaced because of something like that? Makes it definitely some interesting times for sure, no doubt about that. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive. Here's some John Smalls talking about the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by RC. Will Rogers said, "Everything is changing. People are taking the comedians seriously and the politicians as a joke." I love that quote. I want to make sure you understand something. Will Rogers died in 1935, so this quote is around 100 years old, and it's gotten more accurate along the way. There was a great movie from 2006. Robin Williams portrayed a late-night TV show host and comedian. He decided to run for president in the movie, which was very funny, and he actually won. But it was because of a voting machine error. Now, I steer clear of sharing political opinions on the radio, but that movie from 2006 was mentioned many times over the last few years. I'd rather remind you of the Will Rogers quote from 100 years ago. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Teenagers whose parents drink regularly are 4 times more likely to drink themselves. That's according to a new study published in the Journal of Adolescent Health. The author of the study says this is now more evidence that someone who is binge drinking increases the risk of passing it on to people around them. Fentanyl is a big problem in the U.S. New York City Mayor Eric Adams hosting a summit later this week on the fentanyl crisis. His office says the 2-day meeting will include strategy sessions with elected leaders, public health officials, and law enforcement professionals with the goal of developing a national strategy to combat the scourge of fentanyl. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Yelp are suing each other over the verbiage used to describe crisis pregnancy centers online. After the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, Yelp began notifying users that crisis pregnancy centers typically provide limited medical services that may not have licensed medical professionals on site. Paxton says the site violated Texas law by posting allegedly incorrect information. Health update, Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Scott Pringle, for the information on what is going on inside of the worldo, because that is some important things to definitely talk about. Let's talk about some things that happened back on this date. As I take a look around, let's take a look, sir. Which one do I want to go to? Let's do 1974. Hank Aaron hits his final home run as a member of the Atlanta Braves, shutting out the Reds 13-0. It was the 733rd career home run. He went on to play 2 more seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers and was inducted into the Hall of Fame back in 1982. That occurred back on this day in 1974. Let's take a look at some birthdays for today. Let's see. Ricky Sternhouse Jr. turns 36. Camilla Bell turns 37. John Morris, 39. Matt Hancock, 45. Mendissa turns 47. Kelly Ripa turns 53. Sting, the rock star. Yeah, he turns 72 today. And let's see, Don McClain turns 78. So there's some birthdays for you. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, well, I always have some of those for you. It goes like this: National Custodial Worker Recognition Day, World Farm Animals Day, Audiophile Day, World Architecture Day, National Name Your Car Day, International Day of Nonviolence, World Day of Bullying Prevention, World Habitat Day, and National Fried Scallops Day. So there you go. There's some days to celebrate in one way, shape, or form. No doubt about that. What do you think? I mean, what else would you want to do? Anyways, let's talk about Did You Know real quick. As reporters are to be believed, you may one day soon be driving an Apple iCar. Although it's still a top secret initiative, those who know say that the prototype electric vehicle is being developed by the tech company and will obviously be running on iOS. On an Apple iOS, what we better say. And it will be autonomous, self-driving, and more of a cruiser type than performance type. Naturally, you'd be able to start your iCar via your iPhone using Apple's CarPlay system. And it is supposedly also leaked that the vehicle will likely be within the same price range as a Tesla Model X, which means about $100,000. As for the time to install and update, you can expect to have battery issues. I'm just saying. Hey, just saying. I'm kidding. Calm down. It's okay. Just a joke. Anyways, let's talk about this. If you need a random joke for today, I have one of those for you. There is no doubt about that. So let's talk about some of that. I'm the type who would rather park really far away than ever attempt to parallel park. Yep, that definitely sounds like something I would do. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What is the absolute worst place to run into a coworker? If you need a question for the water cooler, try this. 96% of us admit we do this even though we know it will hurt. What is it? Eat or drink something that is hot. That would do the trick. There is no doubt about that. So there you go. That's going to sum up our time together in regards of what we have going on. Tomorrow, we'll come out and hang out and do some things together, no doubt about that. At the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm for us to do that thing that we do, because why would we not do that? The thing that we do, of course. So come hang out with me at radiobig.fm to do that. If not, you can stay on Safety FM and hang out with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the business of safety consulting. No doubt about that. Okay, there you go. If I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. Focus on an ocean of positives, not a puddle of negatives. An ocean of positives, not a puddle of negatives. Think about that. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye, Zo.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
A new flavor, straight laser, go maker, room shaker, lost in a beat, make you wanna move.